Before I do start this video, make sure to use my TCG player affiliate down below if you're looking for any of these singles that I talk about today. Also, this channel is sponsored by Arcane Fortress. If you're looking for the best deck boxes around, make sure to use my link down below in the description to check them out. One other way you can support the channel is by becoming a patron. There are some great benefits of being a patron to the channel, such as giveaways, deck advice, and more when you do join. What's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on PubStomp MTG, and in this video today, I'm going to discuss with you Glarb Calamity's Augur. And so honestly, I've been loving Bloomburrow so far, looking at all the different spoilers here and there, and nothing got me more excited seeing more frog commanders come to Magic the Gathering. Though this doesn't deal with frogs specifically, this does have really powerful abilities that you could absolutely take advantage of in the command zone. It's basically just a self-fulfilling engine. So let's read what it does. So it is a Sultai colored commander for 3 mana. It's a Frog Wizard Noble, which is pretty cool typing by the way. Frog Wizard and Noble, all that in one, even though he kind of looks like a warrior with that sword. He does have Death Touch, and you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater from the top of your library, and you can tap into Surveil too. So this is a pretty powerful engine of a commander. There's a lot of things that I do like about this. The fact that you could just play lands from the top of your library and cast creature spells. Obviously they have to have mana value 4 or greater, and it's not only just creature spells, it's any kind of spell that you want. So if there's some kind of mana reduced card that you have on top of your library, you could easily cast that too. Plus, if you don't like the top of your library, you could just kind of manipulate it a little bit by tapping him to Surveil too. So I'll tell you what, this is one exciting commander to talk about, and with that said, let's get it started. So let's first talk about the game plan of the deck. What are we trying to achieve in the deck? Of course, we could play lands from the top of our library, but we don't want to be stuck with them because we could only play them once each turn unless we have options like Exploration, Wayward Sawtooth, and Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Exploration, being the cheapest of the bunch, can play an additional land on each of your turns. That does include Wayward Sawtooth. It does have that Ascend ability where you could have it attack or block when it's ascended. And Dryad of the Elysian Grove will definitely help your mana base, making all your lands basically tap for everything. These are very efficient ways where if we have like 2 or 3 lands on top of our library and we have some lands in our hand, I'd rather just get rid of the lands on top of our library to get the spells that we really want, and plus we get more lands on the battlefield to ramp ahead. If you do want better versions of these effects, look no further than Oracle of Modiah, Azusa Lost Seeking, and AC Tyrant of Gyre Strait. Azusa Lost Seeking does accelerate our game plan a little further compared to those exploration effects. Instead of playing 1 additional land, you're going to be playing 2 additional lands. I did want to include Oracle of Modiah mainly because if we don't have Glarb on the battlefield, we can't really look at the top of our library. So having that way where we can play an additional land on each of our turns and play with the top of our library revealed definitely will help our game plan a little bit further. And AC is an exploration effect, but it can give us card draw whenever our land enters the battlefield so that we're not stuck with the top card of our library if it's just another land and we already played 2 additional lands. Plus with this and Glarb on the battlefield, it's going to be absolutely insane. We could have that additional land enter the battlefield, get some more card draw, and refill our hand a little bit more. I also want to focus on cards that could get lands from the graveyard to the battlefield like Conduit of Worlds, Ramunap Excavator, and Crucible of Worlds. I would recommend playing a lot of fetch lands, whether they're budget ones or like the fetch lands like Allied or Enemy fetch lands. They're all going to be really good with these cards specifically because you could constantly just put them back onto the battlefield, sacrifice them, play them again. These are absolutely abusable, especially with exploration effects where if we have a fetch land, we could just literally go through like 3 or 4 cards depending on how much exploration effects you do have. Conduit of Worlds is an excellent card though out of the bunch. It is 1 mana more than the other ones, but this one has an additional effect of playing a permanent spell from your graveyard to the battlefield. I mean, the unfortunate side of it is you can't play anything before or after you cast it. Plus on top of that, Glarb does Surveil, so if we Surveil 2 lands into our graveyard, we could just cast them from the graveyard to the battlefield with one of these effects too, so just something to keep in mind for sure. In this deck there is a little bit of a landfall package because of course there's so much lands going in and out of the graveyard, so Lotus Cobra and Nissa Resurgent Animist are excellent mainly because whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get a mana, and that's going to be very important, especially when we cast those 4 CMC spells. I will say there's some elementals, not a whole lot, that are in the deck list, so Nissa's other abilities are not really going to be that important. I mean, there can be some elves that we could take advantage of too, but really we want Nissa and Lotus Cobra for the mana value. Glarb can Surveil for us, but we want to have other options to manipulate the top of our library like Sensei's Divining Top and Scroll Rack. These are just ways where if we want a specific card on top of our library, say for example, we want to land on top of our library so that we can hit our land drop, we could just look at the top 3 cards of our library with Sensei's Divining Top, put the land on top of our library, and then just play it onto the battlefield. The same thing can be said for Scroll Rack. We can manipulate the top card of our library so that we can get what we want. However, a card that does synergize with our commander with Surveilling is Enhanced Surveillance for 1 and a blue. You may look at an additional 2 cards each time you surveil. So with our commander, instead of tapping Surveilling 2, we're going to surveil 4. That much deeper is going to be very good for us each time we tap him. And just in case if you're playing against a mill player, you have that other ability, Exile Enhanced Surveillance, shuffle your graveyard into your library so that those mill players could cry. But now let's synergize with our commander even more. We want to focus on big mana value and untapping our commander left and right so that we could get additional value of surveilling. For example, 1000-Year Elixir, Retreat to Coral Helm, and Kiora Behemoth Beckoner are going to be great options. 1000-Year Elixir, we could use our commander's ability right away if we cast it after 1000-Year Elixir, and then we could also untap our commander by tapping 1000-Year Elixir and paying 1 mana. Retreat to Coral Helm will absolutely synergize with our commander, especially if we do have those exploration effects. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, we could use that first ability. You may untap target creature like our commander, we could surveil, untap our commander again, and make sure it lands on top of our library. If we do have more exploration effects, we can constantly put lands onto our battlefield. And with Kiora, we could use that -1 to untap target permanent like our commander. And here and there, we could get some card draw as long as we play a creature with power 4 or greater. So those are great, but if we do want to protect our commander, look no further than Legolas's Quick Reflexes. Because our commander does have a tap ability, we could use this ability with Legolas's Quick Reflexes to untap target creature, then tap our commander again, surveil, and then we could essentially remove a target creature on the battlefield. And because Glarb does have Death Touch, we could have our commander deal that damage to a target creature, any creature on the battlefield, as long as it doesn't have Indestructible, we could absolutely destroy it. Also, something interesting with our commander, because it's a future sight ability, we can cast free spells from the top of our library as long as we have a card to discard. For example, if we have a Force of Vigor on top of our library and we have a green card in our hand and we need to destroy a pesky artifact or enchantment on the battlefield, we could pay into that alternate cost, cast Force of Vigor from the top of our library, and then destroy an artifact or enchantment, and another one too if you want. I picked the ones that have 4 CMC or higher in the list, so you probably won't see some other ones that you would recognize. I do know these are pricey cards, so of course use your discretion. You could use these, you don't have to use them in your deck. They're just something I wanted to point out with our commander and the synergy with them. Because we are playing high CMC 4 or greater spells, we want to make sure we could reduce the cost of them. So examples would be Defiler of Dreams and Defiler of Vigor. To be honest, not a big fan of the black one, but these ones are excellent because Defiler of Dreams does have that ability to draw a card whenever we cast a blue permanent spell, and we could use Phyrexian mana instead of a blue cost. The same thing can be said for Defiler of Vigor using a green mana. Though our green or blue spells that are permanents will be reduced by a Phyrexian mana, they will still retain their mana cost, and we could cast them with our commander. If we are casting from the top of our library, we might as well reduce them even further by using Savvy Trader and Sage of the Beyond. Each of them have that ability. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 1 less to cast, or with Sage of the Beyond, 2 less to cast. Savvy Trader does have that great use when it does enter the battlefield. Exile target permanent card from your graveyard. You may play that card as long as it remains exiled, and it will cost 1 less to cast because of that other ability. And Sage of the Beyond, we can foretell it from our hand. But now let's focus on the win cons of the deck. You may choose to have these or not to have these in your deck depending on what kind of power level you do want to choose. I wanted to give this suggestion because our commander does have a powerful ability of essentially surveilling 2 and looking at the top card of our library at any time. So this is more of a high power combo, but you can take advantage of Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal. If Glarb is not affected by Summoning Sickness, you could essentially just tap him and untap him, gain infinite mana, surveil your whole entire deck into your graveyard. Then if you have your whole library in your graveyard, you could use Dread Return and Thassa's Oracle for the win there. As long as you have 3 creatures on the battlefield, you could flashback it, sacrifice 3 creatures, put Thassa's Oracle onto the battlefield, win that way. Congratulations, you won with Thassa's Oracle, whoop-de-doo. But that's one reason why I could see Glarb as a CDH commander. I mean, not the best CDH commander in the whole wide world. I mean, it doesn't have red, so it can't play Dockside Extortionist, but it does have the way where it's a combo enabler in the command zone, at least with Dramatic Reversal and Isochron Scepter. Because we are playing Sensei's Divining Top, another combo that we can take advantage of is Sensei's Divining Top and Bolas's Citadel. And I will say, Bolas's Citadel does synergize with our commander outside of the whole combo with Sensei's Divining Top, because honestly, nothing's worse than having a Bolas's Citadel on the battlefield. You already played a land on your turn, and then you go through some cards on top of your library, paying life for them, and eventually you get another land stuck there. At least with Glarb, you have that extra chance where you could tap, surveil, put that land into your graveyard, and cast more spells. And of course with Sensei's Dividing Top, you could essentially draw so much cards to find a win con. So again, those are more high power CDH combos that you can take advantage of in your deck. You can choose with your discretion how powerful you do want to make this. I'm only really giving suggestions for you and how to take advantage of your commander's ability. But with all that said, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video on Glarb Calamity's Augur. Again, this is a really powerful commander. Really could take advantage of a lot of different strategies. I think it could be ranging from casual to high power, and maybe not even a CDH commander. It's very unlikely. There's just so many other options that you would probably rather take advantage of. But Glarb itself is a pretty good engine, looking at the top card of your library at any time and casting spells. But I would like to hear from you. What are your thoughts and opinions about Glarb? Do you plan on building it yourself? Again, I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Is there any cards that I did miss? Also, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And with that out of the way, thank you for stopping by.